Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about how to drop the imaginal act that is going to manifest the reality that you desire once you've impressed your subconscious mind with it, which is a key criteria with respect to Neville Goddard's teachings and what I have proven through meticulously observing my manifestations that I've tracked over the last decade and a half. So consistently and repeatedly, when you imagine something with the intensity as if you were really experiencing it, and you saturate your mind with that concept, that idea, that reality, you impress the subconscious mind. And from that perspective, from that point of view, that's the end. And you will receive your manifestation. And so I want to talk about how that is true, why that is true. I'm going to play a clip for you from Neville Goddard's teaching so that you can hear it from his own mouth, so that those who consistently claim you are in Barbados is the only truth, to live in the end is the only truth, so you can hear it with your own ears that there is a different way. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly with full confidence what you need to do to manifest whatever you want. Manifestation is the key to power. So if you would please hit the like button, it does something to the algorithm so that those who wouldn't normally be able to see this will be able to see it. Hit the subscribe button if you like broken down, systematic techniques, methodical examinations, success stories, Neville Goddard's teachings, but ultimately how to manifest your reality in a predictable way and make it into a lifestyle. And hit the bell icon if you want to stay notified. Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 p.m. London time, 5 p.m. Eastern time, I release videos. And along with this will be a workbook. I've been trying to be consistent with that. They've been getting a lot of downloads. They really are helpful. They go along with the content and they teach you how to implement this. So do not forget to do that. So let's jump into this then. Stopping imagining, dropping the seed, Neville Goddard. So before I really delve into this, I want to play this clip so you can hear it with your own ears, and then I want to break it down for you. So here it is.
I reserve anyone's taste. In the course of the day, you and I change state after state after state. Never a state is the course of the day. But we do have one in which we return constantly. That's where we live. That state, that emotion to which we most often return, constitutes the true self, the true state. That's the one that's always hatching out. If I don't like the truth that it bears, I should do something about planting a new kind of state or tree. But the individual planting, for instance, like the money I got from my friend, I did a little Wednesday. He gave it to me on Friday. In the end of it, I didn't do it again. Never thought of it again. My wife asked me to do it, but it was unfinished business, so I did it. But now the Bible teaches that the vision has its own appointed hour. It ripens, it will flower. If it be long, then wait, for it is sure that it will not be late. Not be late for itself. No two inbred nations have the same interval of time between conception and birth. A child, if it be human, takes 9 months. A horse takes 12. A chicken takes 3 weeks. And so seeds have their different intervals of time. That's true also of concepts. When you conceive themselves to be this, that, and the other, and then that interval between the conception and its birth is determined by the nature of the conception. Any other questions? Always go to the end. The end is where we begin. What would be like your truth? That's the end, isn't it? I have no concern with the means. I go to the end, and the end determines the means. If I have ways and means you know not of, my ways are passed on to God. So all real concern with him is the end. Going to the end, remaining faithful for a moment to get the reaction, the thrill, that he knows that comes with success, and then copy.
So, just to summarize what that chick said, she asked Neville that when Neville, she goes, Neville, when you have this desire and you imagine it and you saturate your mind with it and you enter into the state of the wish fulfilled, do you drop it or do you stay there? And she is referring to his own words, where in his most famous lecture and in his books, some of them, he says to consistently and always, morning, noon, and night, remain in the end, always, until it comes. Abdullah, as he quoted, told him, you are in Barbados. Let me break this down for you. That was the beginning. How much have my teaching, even though I, in the beginning, had a great understanding of the process of manifestation, I had been keeping track at that point for over 10 years, thousands of manifestations. But how much have my teachings changed from then until now? Experience will show that what I teach now is simpler, easier, and more effective than in the beginning. Neville is talking about his first manifestation ever. Abdullah told him, live in the end. Now, Abdullah told him, you are in Barbados. If he wavered, he would slam the door on him. You are in Barbados. He was essentially conditioning Neville without explaining to him that he was already there and that he must remain in this state until he received his end. However, in what you've just heard, right, which was many years later, this was when Neville verified my own findings. So initially with myself, and this is a common with so many specific people, this with many of my clients throughout the sessions is one thing that we stumble upon almost always, which is this idea that they are consistently and constantly living in the end. Well, in my experience, when I was manifesting a specific person, I did exactly what was suggested in his most famous videos, which was to constantly imagine always, morning, noon, and night, think from the point of view of a person who's already married, from the point of view of a person who's already in a relationship, thinking that way, feeling that way. First of all, can't do it. No one can do it. You would have to literally be in a hallucination or schizophrenic to be able to be in a reality 24 hours a day that you're not in. It is not possible. Even think of it from this perspective. Even if a split second passed and your mind went somewhere else, you've not lived morning, noon, and night in there, right? So the consistent imagining in the end doesn't make sense. But for me, in my perspective, in my experience, time and time again, I proved that the things I imagined obsessively and fixated on with a degree of intensity beyond anything else because I wanted it so much, and especially for those of you who are in love. What does love do to a person? It can make you sick and crazy and obsessive. And it's not just me, right? A lot of my clients have undergone amazing transitions to convert themselves from that obsessive point of view to the person who has their relationship, right? Over the course of a couple, and I have a video on this recently, but over the course of a 5-package session, a person transformed their entire reality from a sad and alone and jealous and anxious single person. Then over the session, by the end or between the 4th and the 5th session, that person manifested their specific person. But one of the key problems was The obsessive thinking never got me this end. It was only when I stopped imagining that she came crawling to me. Well, actually, she came blowing up my phone repeatedly. She came obsessively blowing up my phone. But I was done with it. But that was a blueprint that it made me think, is this the key? Why is it that when I stopped, it happened? Why is it that when I stopped imagining, why is it that when I completely averted my attention elsewhere, that was when my manifestation came? So I started keeping track of that. I started with an open mind. I thought, can Neville be wrong? Is what I initially thought, or can I be misinterpreting Neville? And ultimately, time and time again, it proved to be true that the things that I intensely imagined with a degree and force and power, I was essentially heightened, saturating my mind with the thing, and then dropping it. That was the key. That is what got me all my manifestations. And so I would test it systematically. I would try things. This is one of the amazing features that I go through. So a part of the process that I take my clients through, or some of the things that I put in my imaginal acts for people when I create them, the custom ones, is I help them to observe the perspectives related to what they assume is true about manifesting meticulously and step by step. This is what I do for my life. This is something I've been obsessed with for over 15 years, is I am very proficient and capable of identifying and targeting beliefs and misbeliefs or misassumptions, and then helping reroute them and convert them into the proper perception. And in this case, this is one of the many things that often comes up with everyone, my viewers, my clients. This is the comment that was made. Someone made a comment recently on a video, and they said, well, Neville always says, you have to live in Barbados up until the point where he was there. This was his first manifestation. When you go to the grocery store and you cannot find what you're looking for, it's only when you stop looking for it, it appears right in front of your eyes. I call this the grocery store effect. I also, with the extreme imagining of something and then letting it go, I call it the slingshot effect. It's the degree of intensity of imagining, that saturation of the mind that you impress it and then you let go, and that's when it happens. So this is the way that manifesting works. And in that lecture you heard with his own voice, Neville Goddard says, no, dear, I don't think anyone stays in it. And what he's talking about is staying in the state of the imagined, the desired person. No one stays in it. And he goes on to say that people shift all day long anyway. But then he went on to talk about a manifestation that prior in the lecture he had shared about, receiving a sum of money. And it was that he imagined it once, only did it once, never thought of it again, never imagined it again. His wife asked him to do it, so he did it. And then a bridge of incidents unfold, which always is beyond a person's capability of understanding how it will happen. God's ways are greater than our ways. They are past finding out. That is 2 quotes from Scripture. And they are saying we should not even attempt to figure them out. That will impede us. But it will happen in a way beyond our conscious ability to perceive. And it will bring us to the place where we receive our end. And Neville says, which was exactly what I had experienced. Over the years, one of the great tools that I discovered that I now call the list method, and I'm starting to call the list method exercise so people understand the difference, that it's an exercise itself, is the effective nature of one singular imaginal act with a very acute attention upon it, a saturation of the mind on one singular thing, and then letting it go is extremely powerful. It's extremely effective. And if we can do that, we will receive the manifestation. So in this case, this is one of the key essentials, as I said, as I go through a process with individuals, with my friends, with my viewers, with my clients, etc. it always comes up, this idea, and essentially it's because my perception, and this is essentially what happened when I got into manifesting, is people hear something and then they teach it. It doesn't often happen from their experience. In this case, with myself, what happened with me is I had been writing down and systematically testing the art of prayer since 2011. And I had systematically observed what works, what doesn't work. Later on, years later, 10 years later, I stumbled upon manifesting by means of Neville Goddard and was able to compare what he had said to my experiences. This is where the conflict happened internally when I realized, no, it's when I drop it, things happen. But ultimately, over time, when I read the entire breadth of his teachings, I had really obsessively extracted key concepts, philosophies. I had compared things from time frames from the beginning of his career to the end of career. There are certain aspects that are consistent. And this is why every imaginal act is best imagined then dropped. And in scripture, it says each imaginal act has its own appointed hour. Well, really, it says every vision has its own appointed hour, which means it doesn't matter how many times, how deep you imagine, for how many days or weeks, 3 days, this whole concept of 3 days itself. Again, look at the date where Neville wrote this, in the 40s. He changed it drastically later. It's unfortunate, and many people do not mean to do this on purpose, but they do not have the patience to actually take the context of what Neville is saying, when he's saying it, etc. And therefore, it's became common knowledge, in quotes, that things that you live in the end. Really, this is in truth, what this is the bastardization of Neville Goddard's teachings to conform to modern law of attraction, which is this idea that you must remain in the state of the wish fulfilled, which really, again, they bastardized to mean emotion, but really feeling is the essence of experience itself. It's the realistic embodiment and experience of reality. Emotion is law of attraction. Feeling is the essence of knowing, which is what we are. We are pure knowing, that is God. And so ultimately, the fact that there are so many small nuanced bits of understanding that have been filtered from this mainstream way of thinking and unfortunately applied to Neville Goddard's teachings, which is why I will be posting more videos like this. So with that said, the idea is each manifestation has its own appointed hour. That means there's nothing you can do after you impress your subconscious mind to make it happen faster or slower. The interesting thing, after you examine 10, 20, 100, 1,000 manifestations, you will realize that manifestations, although we cannot know the time it will take, what is a common attribute is that it happens in the fastest way possible, it seems. It seems the master plan that is generated by infinite awareness, or God, is of the utmost intelligence of more than 7 billion people combined, which is true. Awareness itself filtered out. We are droplets of awareness, which means our consciousness, our mind, our thoughts are droplets derived from our full source, which is infinite. So imagine if our thoughts and intelligence are intelligent enough to plan our days, to plan our futures, to make really thorough plans. Some of us have created and crafted amazing things, but that comes from somewhere. The way that the reality works that is provable through the way that we teach manifesting on this channel is that it comes from a source called awareness. It doesn't come from the root of your mind. There is an essence that contains all things that can ever be known, all things that ever were known, all things, period. And that is what we can draw upon. That is the infinitely intelligent, amazing power that crafts and controls our reality. That is the power that controls the people to execute commands and actions that force them all to manifest us, our desires. This is the intelligence we draw upon. And this is the intelligence that crafts the master plans after you imagine. So we imagine the thing that we want. We impress the subconscious mind with it by saturating the mind, whether that means we do it through visualization, right? Those are not the same thing. Visualizing and imagining are not the same thing, right? Again, a common sort of conclusion that people make, this is something often people make, but really the imagination consists of any aspect of the mind or anything that is non-physical that's experienced in the mind, such as imaginal senses, feelings, thoughts, ideas, memories, beliefs, expectations, knowings, whatever. Each of those are imagination. So your whole concept, the whole idea is you select the reality you wish to experience. That's your job. You imagine it to the best of your ability. That is your job. You imagine it in first person point of view. The reason we do this is the way manifesting works is what we impress the mind with is replicated. So we want to replicate our own first person perspective receiving the manifestation. Otherwise, this is why when people imagine in third person perspective, they have witnessed, as I've seen again, drastically too late for the individuals who end up coaching with me and they said, I wish I had come sooner, I wish I had listened sooner. I was imagining third person, someone else got my manifestation. I was imagining before the end, my text messages came, but then, he vanished, etc. These are all things that we have to just follow simple ideas and steps. Imagine the end. Imagine after the end. Imagine in first person perspective. Imagine to the best of our ability, and then wait. The manifestation has its own appointed hour. You do not have to live in the end. Your job is done after the seed has been planted in fertile ground, which is in the subconscious, crafted by your conscious imagination. You condition it by imagining. Neville cites conditioning is done whilst imagining, and conditioning is essentially what he says with his context and his teachings is the molding of the seed itself, and that's done whilst imagining. And he says, if you never stop imagining, you never stop conditioning the seed. If you never stop conditioning the seed, you never drop it into the ground. If you never drop it into the ground, it can never grow. If it can never grow, it can never manifest. And that is why it is critical to imagine it and let it go. I hope it was helpful for you. Download the workbook associated with this video in the description. Please comment your success stories and testimonials in the description. Be sure to stay tuned for Friday, the collaboration video with Athena Raven and myself. So if you are interested in knowing what it is like from the perspective of a person being manifested, because she manifested me, I manifested her. Or if you're interested in knowing what the manifestor experiences, or if you're interested in knowing what bridges look like when you manifest a person, this is this is a groundbreaking video that is yet to be covered in this detail, because to get two people who have manifested each other in the same room, aware of manifesting, aware of their abilities, aware of what's going on, just has not been available yet. And so if you want to know all the details and nuances that we can cover within a video, definitely hit the bell icon, because Friday at 10 or around that time, I'll send an email to you on my list. Make sure you're on my list. Download the workbook to be on my list to stay tuned for it. I'll send an email letting you know when and where. So thank you so much. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you like these broken down, systematic techniques, ideas, concepts that work, that help you manifest in a predictable way, in a systematic way, in a laser-focused way. Hit the bell icon to stay tuned Tuesdays and Fridays, and I shall see you next time. Thank you much.